Welcome to Hudsonville High School and Hudsonville Athletics. My name is Kevin Walm. I'm the athletic director here at Hudsonville High School, and today I'd like to talk a little bit about parenting, and parenting as far as being a parent of an athlete. I know firsthand, my kids are young, of how hard it can be to go to an athletic contest and sometimes not see your child play as much as what you would like, or sometimes they don't perform at a level that you would like to see them performing at. And it's hard. You deal with a lot of different emotions. During the course of a season, there's a lot of ups and there's a lot of downs. And today, hopefully, I can kind of hit on some of these points to help us as we go through this process of being a parent of an athlete, especially now at the high school level, where you're going to see a lot of different things and feel a lot of different emotions. You know, a word that has kind of come across my readings as I've read some books this summer is the word transformational. And I've read some books talking about transformational coaching. And I started to think about that a little bit, and I started to self-reflect and think about my own kids and my own experiences as a coach, as a parent, now as an administrator, and come to realize that as a parent, we're also kind of a transformational coach. We were the first ones that introduced our kids to different sports. We were the first ones that are out in the yard with them playing catch or kicking the soccer ball, they're throwing the football, they're playing hoops or going to the pool or whatever the case might be. And with that, we have a tremendous platform to teach things to our kids through sports that can impact them for the rest of their lives. And I'd kind of like to hit on a couple of those points today as we kind of go through this journey together, me included. Of being a parent of an athlete, and I'm talking to parents of athletes of high schoolers here, but there might be other parents that are listening to this as well that have elementary age kids that are getting involved in sports and middle age, and I think it pertains to each and every one of us. You know, one of the things that we really need to do is we need to ask certain questions, and there's 5 questions that we need to ask ourselves as self-reflection. One of them is, what do you want from your child's athletic experience? What does that mean to you for your child to play sports? What are the reasons why you want them to play sports? And as a transformational parent, you have to sometimes take your own needs and put them last and put your child's needs first. And what are they going to get out of athletics that's going to make them better as we move to the next stage in their lives? Number 2, what happens when our own expectations are not met from our child's performance? Happens a lot. Our child doesn't play well. There's going to be games that they don't play maybe as much. Maybe they get benched for some reason for not playing well. How do we handle those when we know maybe our expectations are really high for our kids? And I think it's important to ask that question, because how we deal with that is ultimately how we deal with your son or daughter when they don't play well and they come home. You know, how are you going to deal with that? And what conversations are you going to have? Or are you going to be quiet and let your child face their own adversity? Number 3, are you enjoying the experience? Much too often, I find that parents get really concerned about things that are maybe not as important. And ultimately, this comes and goes really fast. You know, your son might be a freshman right now and you have 4 years. Well, if you talk to that parent of a senior athlete, they're going to tell you how fast this experience goes. And so it's very important to enjoy the experience, because you only get one chance at this for each child that you have. Number 4, are you using sports to teach valuable lessons? I mean, there's so many things that are taught in sports that aren't even taught in the classroom. And I think that's why sports become so valuable. I like to consider sports as a co-curricular thing and not an extracurricular thing, because there's so many things that occur that are learned experiences that are going to help them as they get older. And are you using that? Are you using sports as a platform to be able to teach those lifelong lessons when a child faces adversity, when a child is struggling? You know, how are we going to use these as teaching points to help them as they grow and get older? And number 5, do you talk negatively about coaches, players, other teams in front of your child? Because if you do, then you're planting a seed with your child that your coach isn't very good. And our coaches are all trained and They all are there for kids and they care about kids. And I know there's some things going to go on that you might disagree with, but yet I think it's really important to keep those conversations to the side. Don't do it in front of your kids, because your kids need to listen to their coach. And if they're listening to you and they're listening to their coach, they're going to be confused. And when they become confused, they're not going to perform as well. And that kind of leads us to something that I put out last year. Very first thing I did as an athletic director is I put out in the first Appleseed in the fall was an article called 30-Second Timeout. And it gave the Hudsonville athletic creed for parents. 4 things that they need to follow as a parent to help them not only become a transformational parent, but also to become a parent that enjoys the experience of having their child go through these 4 years of athletics at Hudsonville. The first thing is that parents will understand their role. And I've talked about this briefly already, but parents parent, players play, officials officiate, and coaches coach. Again, if you give mixed messages and you take on a role of a coach when you got to give up the reins a little bit and trust your coaches to do the jobs that they need to do, it only causes confusion when you're trying to coach and the coach is trying to coach. And with that confusion, again, there's a decrease in performance level. Number 2, parents will support and encourage their child, teammates, and coaches no matter the outcome. If you want to build a solid relationship with your son or daughter, tell them after a game, win or lose, that you're proud of them, no matter what. You don't want to tell your child only after they succeed that, man, you played really well tonight, and then not say anything when they don't play well. The child is trying the best that they can in every situation possible. And so we want to still plant those positive seeds all the time. One of the best stories I've ever heard, George Capistani, who's a former parent here at Hudsonville, of a tennis player, and has had a lot of tennis background, is the general manager at the DeWitt Tennis Center in Holland. He said 2 things to his daughter after every tennis match. Did you fight like a dog, and did you have fun? And those 2 things were the only things that were important. And I really think it really taught a lifelong lesson to their daughter about, what sports is there for. Did you play as hard as you can? Did you enjoy the experience? And I think we need to also follow along those same lines. The third thing in the Hudsonville Parent Athletic Creed is parents will act with the highest class in all situations. When your parents are yelling at an official in a gym, it embarrasses your son or daughter. They hear those type of things. And so we want to make sure that every athletic event here at Hudsonville is a positive experience. We're all going to make mistakes. Officials are going to make mistakes. Coaches are going to make mistakes. I'm going to make mistakes. We're all going to make mistakes, but we're also doing this in the best interest for kids. And so we want to make every experience possible as positive as possible. And number 4, parents will allow their children to face adversity. I think this, more than anything else, is extremely important, especially when we look at athletics as a learning experience, something that can impact them in the future. Because life, there's ups and downs, and things are going to happen. And I think an athletic season is kind of a small sample of what life really is. There's going to be ups, there's going to be downs. How do you deal with the downs? How do you deal with the adversity? And the number 1 thing as a parent, we're kind of trained to solve problems. That's what we do. We want to protect our kids. I feel that all the time. But yet, it's the child's responsibility to be able to learn how to deal with adversity, no matter what it is. If they played well, what are they going to do? If things aren't going well and they're not getting enough playing time, how are they going to deal with that? Because ultimately, it's their problem, it's their situation. But parents can have a huge impact on this by giving them the support and the encouragement that they need to be able to face this adversity without solving their problems. As we look forward and go through the year, like I said, there's going to be lots of highs and lots of lows. And I just ask each and every one of you to look at the platform that you have to teach lessons that are going to impact your kids for the rest of their lives. I hope you guys totally just love and enjoy the experience. We're in a great place, and I want to thank you guys for all you do for your kids and for Hudsonville. And I'm sure I'll see you at the games, and best of luck in the season that follows. Thank you.